Yes. I think we made it by 7:09 when we're going to lose the feed. It is Randall Cunningham. It is still real to me. Damn it. Howie Cheney, our buddy JJ up in the corner. We did get just live. Let me check our feed while we're on here. Make sure we are. We are here tonight for a very, very, very special night. Mr. Cheney, Mr. Johnson, a couple of weeks ago, got to see something that was beyond real to me. Let's make sure. Is anybody looking at us on?
We're on Facebook.
Facebook. Okay, I'm gonna kill this other phone. Then I was trying to get there. So everybody give us a second. We had a little technical difficulty, and I want to. I'm going to see if I can get back in my phones what I want to see. Just give me a second. I think we got it now, boys. Yeah, let me change this code. 310.
Jeremy, how's your day been today?
Well, I drove, had a meeting this morning, drove from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So I've been down there this week. So it was good day. Just had rolled in here when right before 6 Central Time. So been a pretty good week.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah. Chill out here at the house and wrap some stuff up tomorrow. So that'll be great. Fantastic. I'll probably watch AEW tonight. Watch Dynamite. I didn't get to watch it, so check it out.
It was kind of interesting. I liked some of it. Some of it I could care less about.
I saw some clips. Yeah, some of it yeah.
Yeah.
I go look. I'm all for a little blood here and there, but I think they're getting a little overboard with it.
Well, Jericho, I think he got it the hard way, though. I don't think he really meant for that to happen.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Broke his nose.
Sorry about that, everybody. Between we had a couple of kind of crazy issues. Thank y'all for setting up there. We do have the feed now. We are live. Sorry it took just a minute. But, again, I heard y'all talking AEW. I'm about to go watch it. I've seen the first match is all I've seen. So I'm gonna watch it. And I did hear it was a blood fest. But let's start with another blood fest. Ric Flair's last match. Now, I want to talk to you guys. I didn't get to go. I had some issues with my daughter, but I got to watch the pay-per-view. So I got a completely different angle than you guys did. First of all, Jeremy, Howie, y'all arrived, and I heard there was a line already sitting and waiting.
Yeah, to put it in the words of the Nature Boy, there's a line a mile long wrapped around Municipal Auditorium. Glad we left when we did. I thought we did all right getting in line, but yes, there was a pretty good line, an hour and a half before the gates open, not before the show, before the gates open.
Was the facility, Howie, on TV, it looked 95% full. Was it that full, or did they hide some seats somewhere?
No, it was really full, and if everybody would have actually sat down at the same time, it would have been probably packed full, because at any given time you could walk out to the concourse there and there was a line a mile long waiting to get a beverage or a food or bathrooms, because that facility has not been upgraded since the doors opened originally.
Well, yeah. I hate to break your heart, but that is after an upgrade about 20 years ago, because it used to be worse. But it is pretty plain, man. It is an old style. it's a hockey, it was a hockey arena at one point, and you can tell it the way the seats are set up around it.
Well, I'll just say this, and me and Howie and I were talking about it as we got closer to the front door, and then when we got inside, and I know there's some logistical things with restrooms, which, by the way, had been remodeled, but they hadn't been expanded. Restrooms, concessions, but I absolutely that match couldn't have been. I mean, it might, if it was Greensboro Coliseum or something, maybe it would have been better. But that was a great old school arena. Had the old school marquee out front. Had the blown up tickets, wallpapering the outside from events that had happened all the way back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And get inside, not a bad seat in the house. I loved it.
Did you notice on the inside they had those tickets as well going around the inside of the walls as well?
Hey boys, I saw Van Halen in that same facility in 1982, and I promise you they shoehorned 10,000 people in that building that night because they were setting. There were so many people in there that the two levels where they have seats, people were sitting in the aisles all the way up through there. And the floor was so they couldn't full. And everything was general admission. So I would say that building maxes 7,000, somewhere around there. Would you guys think that?
Yeah. I was thinking somewhere in that 7,000 to 9,000 somewhere. You count the seats that they had on the floor. They had seats. I think our seats were probably better than those seats on the floor that are rows back, to be quite honest with you, because if you're on the floor, you've got to look around or over somebody to see. And
while we was there, they did have like a Titantron there, but they did not show any of the matches on there. So if you was on the floor seats, like Jeremy said, you would have to look around people or climb on somebody's back to look over it or something like that. But usually at live events like that, they have it on the Titantron for some of the people that may not have the best seats. But on that one there, they didn't. And I'm pretty sure Jeremy heard on one of Conrad's podcasts that it was done on purpose to make it seem like more old school.
Yeah, and I think that was the whole point. The JCP, the Crockett Promotions backdrop and desk, I loved it. I loved that. I felt like I was 12 years old, seeing Tony Schiavone and David Crockett up there. And the only issue, when I'm getting off track a little bit, I wanted to hear Tony and David in between the matches, and they did. I'm not nitpicking it because it was a great event. I had a good time. I enjoyed myself, but the audio, they had some audio problems in between, maybe on in between matches when Tony and David. So we didn't really get to hear much of that.
That was on the pay-per-view, the highlight of the pay. It was better than some of the wrestling, and they brought out different people that from each organization. They brought out people from MLW. They brought out people from Ian Riccaboni was there from. And then there was some people from New Japan Wrestling. So it was fun. Official capacity, all sides open. And in a concert, you lose a quarter of it, 9,700 people. So for that would be probably if with a ring, if they shoehorn 9,500 people in there, they did good.
Yeah, I would say so.
All right, one last question for the both of you. And I got to admit, I think the TV lost the pay-per-view. It was great with the come on and the old Jim Crockett Promotions JCP emblem. But at the beginning of the pay-per-view, there was no big explosion coming on the air. It's kind of like they just came on and everything started. In the arena, did you get that sense, or was there a moment where they said, we're going live?
It just started to best of my remembrance. They just kicked it off and went with it.
Yeah, they kind of had an intro there at the very first on the Titantron to kind of show what was going on, but it wasn't like in the past, some of the wrestling we've been to and said, hey, we're going live in 5, 4, and all that. No, they didn't do none of that. It just kind of like, all right, here we go. Lights went down.
Yeah.
Lights, camera, action. Here we go.
All right, man. Well, lots of camera action. Let's get into the show. All first from New Japan Wrestling, Ren Narita and Yuya Uemura. And I think I'm right, Uemura.
Good job. Good job by you.
Good match. Goes about 5:30. Good. I enjoyed it. Watching from home, it told a story. It was classic opening match. Nothing on floor, nothing out in front, nothing too violent. Gets the clout in their seat, got things started. But I got to say, guys, and I want your opinion, one of the better matches of the night, I thought.
Go ahead, Howie. I'll defer to you there, brother.
Yeah, it was a really good match. You know, I've never heard of either one of these guys, but they were. It's not like you see now where it's David against Goliath and all this other stuff. So much big mismatch in size and all this. It was two guys roughly the same size. No high, maybe one high spot, but it was just kind of old school type of wrestling.
Yeah, and I'm with Howie. I enjoyed the match. Didn't know either one of the guys, but they, that was a good match to start the night off. It was a little flat in the arena, I felt like, because these guys were basically unknown, but they did a great job. Good match. Think about what's going through these kids' mind. That's probably the biggest crowd possibly that they've ever wrestled in front of. And they did a great job. So that was a good opening match to start the evening off for sure.
Well, quickly, we go into the Bunkhouse Stampede. And just, if you haven't seen it, a lot of stuff happens in the Bunkhouse Stampede. GC Game Changer Wrestling invades, led by Nick Cage. Some classic wrestlers, James Storm, Bubba Dudley, Sin Boda, who has been famous around the Nashville area for years. One of his claims to fame is he married Stacy Carter the Cat after Jerry Lawler did. So I got respect for him for that, just single fact.
Crimson, throw Crimson in there also.
Crimson, and all these guys live in the metro Nashville area. A lot of them do. I don't think that's true for Bubba Ray, but James Storm, Crimson, I think he lives in Clarksville and actually goes to Austin Peay, or did at one point. They did a very good job with getting star talent there in the Bunkhouse Stampede. But Jeremy, a little bit of Star is Born there, and a week later it was told. And I think if we look back now, what Tony Khan got for giving them Jay Lethal and the talent that he did lend them for the night, someone he had signed that we didn't know signed wins the Bunkhouse Stampede.
Yeah, well, and I told Howie, because we were looking and you had a lot of unknowns, at least to me, the GCW guys. I'm probably going to start following GCW a little bit more. But, I'm not a Nick. I know Nick Gage. I'm not a Nick Gage fan. And that's everybody's choice, to each his own. I'm not a fan. But, Buck, that it's hard to, my brain and my eyes were going everywhere just to try to keep up with it. But I will tell you this, I didn't enjoy that match as much as I did the first match. But I will tell you, after Friday of that week, I've heard the name Mance Warner. I'd never seen the guy. I didn't even know that was him. And he wins it. He cuts a little bit of a promo up there. And then by Friday of that week, I'm like, dude, I'm a Mance. This guy, I love this guy. He cut those promos for AEW before his matches. match with Moxley, by the way. How about that? You're virtually unknown to the majority of the wrestling universe, and then now you're wrestling for the AEW title. And I love the match. I love Mance Warner, probably because he's talking his country and hillbilly as I am.
Yeah, I love him too. Going into that match, I think a lot of the public believed it was going to be Bubba Ray Dudley versus James Storm. Mance Warner winning kind of was a little bit of a swerve.
Yeah, we were sitting there, and I don't know if it showed it on the pay-per-view or not, but all of a sudden a bunch of guys came and got in the ring, and then they announced, I think it was, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, 5 of the participants, or maybe 6, and they were the more well-known wrestlers. And once they all got in there, Jeremy chose, he thought Bubba's going to win it, and I thought that James Storm's going to win it, and we was both wrong.
And I'm glad we were.
Yeah.
And credit to Bubba Ray, because when all the GCW talent along with Nick Gage came in there, they worked him over, and he sold, and he put those guys over, and then eventually put Mance Warner over. But yeah, dude, I love the guy. I love the character. Love every part of it.
Did you, just real quick, and we'll move on because we don't have a lot of time for each match, but the pop at the end when Bubba Dudley comes up, raises his hand. I think Bubba Dudley, and I think a lot of the crowd that night, a little bit of a patching of a torch to me for that character, that tough guy, James Storm guy that's been in TNA, Bubba Dudley that's been in ECW and WWE. I felt like they kind of said, okay, Mance Warner, you can walk in our group, because he hit the ground running in AEW. Absolutely running.
Yeah, no kidding. And here's what I love, and Howie's listened to some of our podcasts that we tune into frequently this week. And the way the older guys like Bubba Ray, and then you'll talk about some of the other, the way they promoted that, and listening to some of the, yes, it was about Ric Flair. They wanted to push some of these guys and give them some notoriety, and he got it, because I lost my mind on those promos. I thought, man, that's Stone Cold. You name it. It's Bunkhouse Buck, whatever you want to call it. It's great.
He does. Bunkhouse Buck. Jimmy Golden. He reminds me a lot of it. All right, Howie. On to the third match of the night, which you and I have talked about, and I still feel this way. The Wolves versus the Motor City Machine Guns would have been an absolute beaut of a match in 2008. A little bit past its prime to be in this card, but it was kind of like you had the Horsemen represented from the 80s to the 90s later, we'll get into. But really, the early 2000s up to the 2010s, Davey Richardson, Eddie Edwards, Alex Shelley, and why did I draw a blank on it? Chris Sabin. That was kind of what went around the country for tag team indie wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when the Wolves came into TNA, the first time they showed up was in Huntsville, and I was at that. It was back then they called it a pay-per-view, but it was actually a 2-night event. Broke into 2 nights. It's all in one night, but they recorded one part of it and then showed the next one the next week. But I was there when they first came in, and the crowd went ballistic that night. But back to this, and yeah, that could have been a headliner of a pay-per-view back in the early 2000s. And it was still good. It was a really good match. They did have a few miscues, which there's a few miscues the whole night long. Don't get me wrong, but overall, it was a really good match.
Well, Jeremy, Eddie Edwards is still very active, but Davey Richards is more than semi-retired. He's actually a paramedic now, married, doesn't take many dates. I think Alex Shelley is not as active as he once was. Chris Sabin is not as active as he once was. Of the four, really, Edwards is the only guy that's still on TV every week. And you can see it in his work. Eddie Edwards is still Eddie Edwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you got to think about it. And this has come from somebody that doesn't know anything about getting in a ring for sure. But anytime you're good at something and you take a long period of time, anything you're good, it requires some skill, and you take a long period of time off, it takes a long time to get back to your, you know, to that level that you were at. And so I like the match. I'm with Howie. I thought it was a good match, but I'm like you, you know, 10, 12 years ago, that one is a top tier miss match for sure. I remember
10 years ago, they are the lucha match that we'll talk about later.
I hope we do.
Yes. But let's go to the next one. And I don't think even you guys, when you text me and you pick, Howie texts me a picture because he knows I love Scarlett Bordeaux. And I got a couple of pictures from you guys from Killer Kross. And I said it that night. He's a star. He is a star. He is a main event pay-per-view superstar. Everybody's been waiting for him to show up on AEW, but I think his plan was always to do what he did. Reappears on WWE TV a week later, attacking Drew McIntyre, confronting Roman Reigns, and immediately puts himself in the World Heavyweight title picture. Killer Kross is a superstar. And Davey Boy Smith Jr. is huge in Japan, works a lot in Japan. But it seems impossible that the kid that we saw start at 20 is now 38 years old. And his body has got a lot. He can't probably hold up like he used to.
Well, you had it right to start with. He's big to start with. You know, both of them in the ring. Those two are probably the two biggest guys that was in the whole card, to be honest. But you know, sitting here thinking back on it, it kind of reminded me of and don't take this the wrong way, but it kind of reminded me of Indie show, to where you see them in Fort Payne one week, and then the next week they're on national TV, you know, in a high profile WWE, you know, with all these guys that was there that you knew they was going to go somewhere, but you wasn't sure if they really would. And then they did. And so it's kind of like being at a minor league at the Huntsville Trash Pandas. And, you know, 2 weeks later, they're called up to the major leagues and they hit their first home run.
Yeah.
You know, but overall, the match, Davey Boy and all that, I think it could have went a little bit longer, but yeah. I did like the match. It was a solid match.
So let me say something right there. How you mentioned that you thought it could have went a bit longer, and I agree with you on that for sure. But from what I read and understood, and they were talking about how great the talent, you know, the people that were in the matches, the Bunkhouse, the New Japan match, and this match all ran short of their allotted time. And Conrad was complimenting the talent, or it may have been Road Dogg, who was the executive producer, talking about the fact that they wanted to make sure that they gave that last match the time it needed, you know, and not run long. And so Killer Kross, I like the finish. I don't know if you like the finish. I think it was that forearm to the back of the head. I really like the finish. And when I flipped over to SmackDown, I just happened to flip over at the end. And I'm like, my God, it's Killer Kross. And that's exactly where he needs to be. I think we've talked about it. You needed a heel or somebody that could legitimately contend with Roman Reigns besides Brock Lesnar. Well, they've got it right there.
And they don't need to shave his head. They need to let it. I mean, he's a handsome fella. I mean, he looks good. Leave him like he is. Let him be Killer Kross, whatever you want to call him. Hey, here's something I don't think one of you would have thought. You might have seen two future world champions in two of the first four matches. because I can't think that Mance Warner ain't going to get pushed to the moon in AEW.
Go ahead, Howie, but
Oh, no, I agree 100%. You know, it goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. It's like seeing these minor league baseball players end up on the major league team, you know, and, you know, being that, you know, literally one night I was in Fort Payne watching the local indie show that come through, and the next week I saw one of the wrestlers there on NXT. I'm like, wow, he went from Fort Payne, Alabama to being on the NXT.
Yeah. They're both those guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But yeah, I flipped out when I saw him. He was on SmackDown. And I will throw this in here. We all got to give Vince McMahon the credit that he deserves. But what the heck are you thinking, taking these guys and basically sabotaging them? Karrion Kross would have already held the world title if they would have left him alone and put him and kept him with Scarlett and not put him in that goofy 21st century demolition outfit and let it. And that's like, I don't understand.
You just defined a future show. Now, and we all know Vince McMahon, and I don't think anybody has to guess how I feel about Vince McMahon. We will get on here and we'll praise what he's done right in the wrestling business. He has let more talent walk over the last few months than you know what to do with. Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, whatever you want to call him. I wish I will watch WWE to follow his career. He's that good. All right, match number 4 for the PWG number 1 ranking. Jonathan Gresham, Alan Angels, former number 5 in the Dark Order. I don't know if y'all realize that was him.
Mm-hmm.
Konosuke Takeshita and Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne, 19 years old, already signed to AEW in their little development system. Son of Buddy Wayne, Southern independent wrestler. It is much of a lot of talent there, but didn't put it together.
Yeah, Jonathan Gresham is so stinking small. It was, I mean, you see it on TV, but until you see it in real life, you just don't realize how tiny he is as far as height-wise. Now, he's as thick can be, but he's just real small, and that hurts him big time. Overall, the match was, I'm not a big 4 people in the ring at one time type of person, tornado tag or whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of talent in there, but it didn't gel as good as I thought it would.
Yeah. And I struggle a little bit with I know Nick Wayne is he got hot on the internet, so to speak, and on the independent scene, and he's got a little lineage there. But I just really struggle with guys that, I mean, he looked like he's 15 years old out there. And you put him out there with grown men, even though Gresham is not tall in stature, he's a grown man. And I just struggle with it. I don't care how many flips he does and how many, somersaults and herkies or whatever he decides he wants to do. I think they have to grow into their body a little bit. And I remember when Drew McIntyre started as the chosen one. Well, he was 26, but he had a baby face. He just, his physique wasn't there. It was there, kind of there. And, he goes away and works on that. And now he's a man, he's a man. His features, everything, it's believable now. But Nick Wayne, I don't know. Yeah. But
he's
the match.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Favorite.
For sure. I think the right man won the match. Gresham is a great wrestler. To take nothing away from him on that. I kind of feel like with the deal with AEW and or ROH and him having that blow up, I think if he'd have just been patient, you know, things may have worked differently for him. But
I think you're 100% right. I think he probably cost his wife, Jordynne Grace, an opportunity in AEW too, and probably what burnt bridges for himself. And you can't get mad putting whatever you want to call him. For most people, it'd be known as formerly known as Cesaro, Claudio, as I know him, the king of wrestling, over at ROH. He built the company. 10 years of his life went into it. Let's move on just a little bit. I want to get some other matches here real fast. I had to change the password to my phone, and all the results are on my phone. So if y'all hear me being a little slow, I keep locking myself out of my own freaking phone. Hey, if you find my phone on the street and you want to get in it, my password now is 00000. Next match. You know, what can you say? Horseman versus Rock and Roll. Three of the guys in that match can work and probably don't get the exposure they deserve. Yeah. Ricky Morton still carrying the mullet, kicking it as he can. But the Horseman had to go over, and let me give this one praise, and then y'all can take it. On TV, in that match, one guy looked like a superstar, acted like a superstar, came across as a superstar. If Tony Khan didn't see what I saw, Brian Pillman needs a push, needs a character, needs to finish up the legacy of his father. He's been nice guy too long. If it's a short run, turn him heel, make him the loose cannon, put him with Brock Anderson, send him down the road. I thought it was one of the best moments of the night. Pillman Anderson heel. How about you, Howie?
Yeah, I agree 100%. He was a superstar out of that match. You know, it was we sat around a bunch of people that we talked to a lot during the night, and I agreed with them about he was Brian Pillman all over again.
Yes.
That night.
Yeah, he looked. I mean, when I looked down there, just how his mannerisms, and even when he wasn't in the match, when he was there, you know, waiting to tag in and stuff, I'm like, he's like his dad. He had a little different. I think did he not have on some of his dad's gear?
Yeah,
I think he had on his dad's gear. He had the curls going, and just how he carried himself, and I felt the same way. Hey, Brock, he looks like his dad.
He's proven.
He's coming along nicely.
All right, I want to jump on the other side just for a minute. Now, I understand why Ricky Morton worked the match, and God bless him for working it. And if Robert Gibson was still healthy, he should have worked the match. But obviously, Robert limped to the ring. Mm-hmm. Ricky kind of not much better, but was able to get in the But Kerry Morton probably is never going to get a chance at a big-time job. But 20 years ago, territory days, Kerry Morton is his dad. You know, pretty-looking kid, good-looking guy, little-ish, got that tag team specialist. I noticed when Kerry Morton got in the ring, guys, he took it in. He looked around. I wouldn't doubt that's the biggest crowd he'd been in by far. But you could see Kerry Morton took it in more than any wrestler all night. Jeremy, how good's Kerry Morton?
He looked dang good. I'll put him in that. I would if I had to pick, and I think Kerry is 19. He's around 19. Yeah. 20 years old, somewhere around that neighborhood. So I'll still put him in that category. You know, he's got to develop a little bit, physique wise, but that he can go, and he's his dad. He sold well, and I really liked Kerry in that match. That's the first time I'd ever seen Kerry.
And they gave them time, Howie. They didn't do. You could have cut that match and made it one of the shortest matches of the night. They gave them 7:10 in the ring, 3 minutes on the entrances. The one thing, and we'll talk about Flair in a minute, and it's going to be good. I'm not going to kill Flair up here tonight. It's not my plan. It's not my process. It's not why we're here. But if you were going to put Flair in his last match to headline something, you did want to make some stars out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Go ahead, Howie.
No, absolutely. And I feel like they did. I think Morton will get a chance because as young as he is and as talented as he is right now, he's got one of the best teachers that is his father that could teach him what he needs to do and how to do it. And I think he will get that chance. I don't think it'll be as quick as Karen Kross and Mance Warner and others, but I think eventually he will get that opportunity. I think Triple H and Tony Khan, if they watch that, they realize, hey, we could have a star in the making right there.
Mm-hmm.
Bring us home. Let's end this. Overall, pretty good match, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed the match. I like the nostalgia. Like I said, with the arena, the nostalgia, thinking about, Four Horsemen, Rock and Roll Express. And, I hated to see Robert Gibson limping down there, but it was nice to have Robert Gibson there, too, at ringside. It really was. Say whatever you want to say.
The Horsemen go over?
Mm-hmm.
As should be.
Yeah, it was an 80s match because you had two guys in the match that had mullets.
And Ricky, he's hanging on, buddy. He's hanging on.
Hey. Ricky Gibson. My hair too. Love Ricky. I'm going to give you a second to catch your breath while we quickly plug River City Media. I think our plan right now is to go ahead, continue our tag team tournament. I want to plug what all we got going on real fast. Jeremy Johnson is part of the Five Red Devils broadcast team. Y'all did your 5-day last week. Jeremy, you start this week with Jamboree, games in 2 weeks. We're going to slow down recording on this show. Maybe keep it going once a month or something, maybe even twice a month. But as we have time, we can't steal too much time from the family. But you're gone a lot on Fridays, and it's a big part of your life, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun. I'm not going to lie. Of course, it kind of filled the void being involved with the basketball program since my son was there and the last several years. And I know, and for anybody that sees or listens to this, Fife did play basketball very well for that 4-year stretch. But, it's really filled a void. We got a great team, Adam Ward, Greg Mears, and Drew Sims. My mind just went blank. They do a great job. I'm in year 2. Got a little bit more comfort level. Looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great year.
Howie Cheney and I will be right here on River City Media Tuesdays with the Tyler Van Show. Howie, we switch a little bit. Some nights we're going to have to be recording some weeks with Jeremy and also with Tyler. Now, as I understand it, our plan is to come back running in January, continue these tournaments that we're working on, do some more classic wrestling, do more special. Boy, it's been a lot of fun. I love this show. Guys, you think I'm kidding? I get more comment on this show. It's a smaller group, but the wrestling fans are super loyal. Once they find you and they like you. And Jeremy, Howie, the biggest compliment I've got from folks is we don't come on here and pretend like we're pro wrestlers. We are fans and being fans, and that's what it's about for us. Howie, I'm looking forward to you working together with Tyler Van, something kind of revolutionary, a coach's show here on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking forward to that. It should be great. I know Coach Van's looking forward to it. We was at Savannah's Wing Fest / Fan Day last Saturday. you got a lot of compliments as far as the show and everything. So yeah, we're looking forward to hitting the door running. I guess maybe Tuesday. I guess, or is it going to be a week from Tuesday?
Week from Tuesday's playing. I'm planning on week Tuesday. I got to talk to Coach Van, make sure, but week from Tuesday. I'm leaving Coach Van. He's got a jamboree this week. He did so much at Wingfest. I thought I'd give him a week and we'll hit him up. Might put a group text together this weekend and get this thing formatted. But just like, and I did this intentional. We'll talk about it when we get to Flair. But we've added an overlay feature too. So what you'll see is just like you see the picture of Flair here and Jeff Jarrett, we'll be sitting here talking to Coach Van, and then all of a sudden he'll be able to say, hey, let's talk about that scoring play in the second quarter. And, we'll be able to pull it up, show it right here, Howie. And that's something a little different to have. And I might screw up first couple of weeks, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, that's going to be great. And it's going to be great for the kids. I got a lot of parents that has reached out to me individually and said, hey, we appreciate what you're doing for the kids, giving them the recognition. And the kids are getting behind it as well, and they're enjoying it. So as Jeremy knows, the kids really get a big kick out of it.
It is. Well, Jeremy, where y'all at? Fun 97?
Fun 92.7. The primary games are Arab nights because it is an Arab based radio station. However, Arabs many times plays on a Thursday, and if that's ever the case, Fife Red Devil football is live on that FM radio station. You can stream it through Facebook Live through the Red Devil radio show, which you watched. I think you told me you would watch some of Fan Day. We struggled a little bit with a video piece and tried something different, just as to what you were saying, and so didn't exactly work. Also, they do a replay on Saturday mornings on Fun 92.7 on the AFM station. They do the replay of Red Devil football. So, yeah, you got plenty of ways to watch it and take it in if you're a Fife Red Devil football fan.
Last thing, and then we'll get back to wrestling. Also, on Friday nights, I will be live with Sequatchie County football on Country Roads, WQSD out of Dunlap. Also, for the first time ever, though, the live stream, you can go to the radio station's live stream and listen to it, but you can also come and hear the live stream from the booth through the radio right here on River City Media. I'm proud. I've announced my retirement from active calling games, and it's for the best reason ever. Anna Lee, my daughter, most people know me that listen here, is in 7th grade. We hit the 9th grade. I'm going to take 4 years of my life and be a bad parent, and that's the only goal I have. She loves music, so I've got 2 more years with the football program. I'm looking really forward to it, but I want to get it set up. Anyone that's interested in taking a play-by-play job, doing your own broadcast, we will make sure you're connected with the radio station. I will train you. If anybody's interested, contact me. I have the ability to intern somebody that's in high school that wants to take it. Just get a hold of me. All right, guys. I'm going to get all that out of the way for the next match because I'm just going to say this. Every match up to this point was people working with each other that don't work with each other every week. AAA Wrestling, Fatal 4-Way, insanity is the nice word. Jeremy, take off.
That's you stole my word. I think I told the gentleman that sat beside us from Manchester, England, by the way. I think I said to Howie and to him, this is about to be nuts or something to that extent. And it was freaking insane. Wow, those guys, it's unbelievable the things that they did. And All 4 competitors, they all had spots, and I was trying to video some of it. They did a couple of things toward the ramp that I couldn't see, so I didn't get that. And that was the most insane pieces, that they did with the. I love the match. I think it was, to me, it was the match of the night as far as entertainment and enjoying it.
I think at one point there was an air traffic controller that came down there and started waving his arms around, telling them where to fly to, because it was people flying everywhere.
I will say this.
Go ahead.
I will say this. Any match with Rey Fénix is going to be a good match. The MVP for me, the MVP was El Blanco Taurus, because he saved Bandido from breaking his freaking neck.
He did. In the match, it's Rey Fénix, Bandido, and the Laredo Kid and Black Taurus. And it's Rey Fénix going over point. The Black Taurus did catch the Laredo Kid. These are all guys that compete at the highest level. I know the Laredo Kid has turned down multiple WWE offers, AEW offers, was in TNA for a minute. Bandido is a former Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. Rey Fénix, of course, you can see on AEW as part of the Lucha Brothers. But Howie, my question to you is, everybody talks about Penta, and I think it's the character, no fear and zero fear. But really, I think Rey Fénix is a step above Penta when it comes to in-ring work. And you see that in AAA because he is the mega champion. And Penta is a little bit down on the card. Go ahead.
Yeah, if that had been the first match, they would have been in trouble because they didn't have the ropes exactly right. The first two,
oh God,
the top rope and the middle rope wasn't exactly right, and you could touch it and it'd nearly go down to the floor. So, luckily, before they got out there, they tightened the ropes up a little bit more to where they could actually do some of that stuff. But as far as Rey Fénix, yeah, he's the man. He can go.
Hey, in the Black Taurus character, I know it doesn't make a lot of sense to Americans, but I think he's a person that could come to America and get out of his Mexico character and nobody even know who he is. But he's got the size to work in America, Jeremy.
Yeah, he is. And now, the other guys were a little light or a little, smaller in stature, but he had a little size and a little thickness to him. And I mean, he was the power guy, but he did some crazy flying himself. And again, he obviously strong because he caught Bandido in midair before his head was about this close to the floor. And then what did he do? He raised him up, did some type of power bomb, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it was kind of insane. It's like he missed his move, caught him by his knees and ankles, then rolled him up. Now, it took some effort from Laredo Kid to just kind of do a setup, but most of that was on Taurus to get his body in position to kind of power slam or like jackknife him from there or whatever you want to call it.
Well, and I've listened to and read a lot about this card and about that match in particular, and I think we don't have a new take. Everybody agreed it was the match of the night, and most everybody gave the MVP not just for saving Bandido's life, but to Black Taurus. That he really performed really well. But I would watch those all day long. That was a great match.
Howie, that you live, I didn't see this on TV. I saw him call for a mic. I saw for Rey Fénix call for a mic, but they kind of cut that on TV. But in the arena, they kind of cut it too, did they not?
Yeah, they gave him the mic unwillingly, but he got the mic but wasn't able to say nothing. They didn't let it go live because they were trying to hurry the show along to make sure that Flair and them had ample amount of time.
All right. About now, too, we start to see a sea of celebrities. We've already had DDP sighting. We've already had Mick Foley. We've already had Al Snow. In the next few matches, the celebrities start to roll in. I don't think Taker takes his spot till Flair comes on. But you start to feel like, yeah, this is about Ric Flair. And I think the rest of the card kind of suffers because they get so high with AAA that it's like it starts to wear a little bit at that point. The next match out, two great wrestlers. If you tell me both of these guys end up world champions, well, one of them currently is for the TNA World Championship. Josh Alexander, who has chose to stay in TNA with many, many other offers out there. He is Canadian, gets to work at home, versus Jacob Fatu from the Fatu family, from the Samoan dynasty. But not a lot of chemistry, Howie, I thought, in that match.
It wasn't, but there were several times I look at Jeremy and say, there's no way Fatu's fixing to do that, and he'd do it. Running, jumping over the top rope, and doing different moves that a guy that big, that size, shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot of chemistry, like you said, but just his agility and ability to do all that stuff made up for it.
Yeah, and he did he came off that corner ring post also, and that was pretty impressive. But I'm a Josh Alexander fan. I like him a lot. I liked him when he was tag teaming in the North. With Ethan Page. And I've never, again, I'm a mainline wrestling fan for the most part. I'm getting curious, but, Fatu has been huge in MLW. And I liked him a lot. He's going to end up somewhere else where he gets TV time, I believe, for sure.
I think WWE's got a little bit of a Samoan problem. And I truly believe your three top stars are Samoan. Where do you bring another Samoan in at? And you've got a couple of Samoans in NXT. There's only so many, same thing happened back in the day with Rodney Fatu, Konga Kyong. Later dons sumo fighter and becomes the biggest star in the WWE. But Vince McMahon, when they first brought him in, said, I got a Samoan problem. What happened with him? I've got 6 Samoans now. And that's a little bit, can be a little bit of the case with Jacob Fatu right now. And they're all superstars. I mean, you have the Samoans running the WWE.
Yeah.
Would he be better off going somewhere else, Jeremy?
It really just depends on him. Maybe if he wants to cut his own path, so to speak, it would be easy for him to, if WWE would sign him. If he just wants to make a good paycheck and take care of his family and all that, then sure, go there. But if he really, I want to be my own person. I don't want people looking at me saying, "Hey, you're just cousins with Roman," or whatever the case may be. It's up to him. I would watch him in wherever, WWE, AEW, Impact. I think maybe that pairing, if I remembering correctly, there may be something working with those two, possibly, but I'm not sure.
So many people didn't realize that Yokozuna is part of that same dynasty. You could come up with a character, Howie, and put him in it,
Yeah. I agree with Jeremy. It depends on what you want to do. Do you want to follow in the footsteps of everybody else and I don't want to say ride the coattails, but kind of do that, to a certain extent? Or do you want to go to a place like TNA or AEW and become your own man?
New Japan even.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and absolutely. New Japan may be great that might be a great place for him. But, I mean, you got to remember, though, the guy's he's the man in MLW, so it's not like he's, bottom tier. But if he wants to kind of go a little further, get more exposure. But I'd like to see him in New Japan, that stiff, stronger style wrestling. They love big men in Japan.
Hey,
so
I'll tell you what my mind thought the whole time we'll get these final cards. What if he showed up with some MJF and that was the heater he began to replace Wardlow?
It'd be great. I'm in on that.
I mean, next match was really a disappointment to me. It didn't, no storyline. First time they ever walked together. But from MLW, Ross and Marshall Vaughn, Eric, and they're great athletes. If you step back, and I was watching it, I was streaming it on Fight, and there was a point that I think it's Marshall, the barefooted guy, is up in doing a move that's just like, and I could have swore it was Kevin Von Erich. And I mean, it touched my heart a little bit versus what I call the best independent tag team of all time, Mark and Jay, them boys from Sandy Fort, Delaware, the Briscoes. Howie just didn't hit the mark, but you could see all four of them are great wrestlers.
Right. They are great wrestlers. First time I saw the Von Erichs, but I did hear something this week, and I think Jeremy heard it too, where the Von Erichs flew all day to get there, and they got there like an hour and a half before the show started.
Yeah,
because they had delays at the airport in Hawaii or somewhere like that. So, they didn't have much time to really get everything worked out. But, yeah, if I had to pick, that was probably the worst match of the night, but with the most talented wrestlers of the night, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. I want to hear your point.
Well, and I did hear that too, and you got to know that's tough come blowing in, maybe in a panic that you're not going to make it or whatever. And, they made it and they took a beating because I don't think they didn't get much offense in. And I don't know if that was by design or what they were trying to do. But I love the Briscoes. If I didn't know any better, I think those guys were from Flat Rock, Alabama. So I love them. I love every bit of it. They are.
I didn't know Happy Holler moved to Delaware.
That's right. When I heard they were from Delaware, I went, no, there is no way. But I love that. The Von Erichs are going to be. We'll hear about them because they were impressive looking kids. They look good. I thought it was unique that Marshall wearing jeans and a cowboy hat down to the ring with the belt buckle, and he's shoeless like Kevin, like his dad. Thought it was cool.
Was that the only offensive maneuver they really got in? Was when one of them put the claw on?
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. And you know what? The crowd, they got a little rise out of the crowd when they put the claw on. I mean, that's a Von Erich staple for sure.
I know Jay Briscoe, and just to read Jay Briscoe's resume, 2-time ROH World Heavyweight Champion, 11-time Tag Team Champion. I know what he did on Twitter back in 2012. Folks, we need to get over it. And he's apologized, and he knows he made a mistake. But that man deserves a spot, even if it's a short time, because they're getting in their late 30s. Mm-hmm. Never will be in the WWE. Never, no matter what. They had their Vince McMahon used the famous words, cosmetically appealing with the Briscoes, and no, they're not. But and nobody on here that's watched this show knows how I feel about the Briscoes. AEW seems to be kicking that window and wanting to let them in, but then they get scared and TBS gets involved. But Mark and Jay Briscoe they are Hall of Famers today.
So I'm gonna say something right here. I'm going to say something right here. You said cosmetically appealing. They sound like Vince. It sounds like something Vince would say to us. That's why we got a face for radio here. So
yeah, on River City Media. But I'd love to see. And if y'all didn't see the night before, the Briscoes and FTR tore the place down on the ROH part, and again, they put FTR over. It's not like two guys that's got an ego that won't do the right thing. But eventually, you got to give them a win over FTR. You can only drown them so long. You got to give them a win.
It's coming. It's coming.
The next match, I'll be honest with you. Y'all ready for a laugh? Y'all ready?
Yeah.
I'd had so much of it, I just had to get away, and I knew Flair was coming. So I watched them enter the ring, and I left. And went outside, drank a soda or a Monster or something. I seen them enter the ring, and Jordynne Grace looks like a star. Rachel Elling looks like a star. I did read later that she got hurt and really handicapped the match. What happened, Jeremy?
She did right off the bat. There was a scrum. Jordynne Grace rolled up on her ankle, high ankle sprain, what I heard earlier. And I think she's hurt. And she slid over to the ring apron. The doc came over and looked at her and stuff. And to her credit, I thought the match was still good. But to her credit, she gutted it out and finished the match and actually did pretty well. And then when she was walking the ramp after the match, she was barely making it. So credit to her. I got a lot of respect for her. Just to know, hey, this is a big stage for me. This is a big stage. And by the way, she was the one to get pinned. So boy, that throws if it becomes just a two-way match and the finish involved the person that's injured, now you're having to shift on the fly for sure. But I liked the match.
All right, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, Ellering, she, like Jeremy said, she gutted it out. When it was over with, us having to help her up the ramp. I'm not sure who walked worse, her or Robert Gibson. I mean, it was pretty bad.
It was her.
It was a pretty bad injury there, and they kind of did a little, even though they don't have timeout in wrestling, they kind of did like about a 2-minute timeout there, Jeremy. Just kind of let the doctor check her out and let her kind of walk it off, as they say. And man, she gutted it out big time. Hats off to her. She deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
And I thought the match was really good.
Well, and you got these. Look, in my opinion, those three ladies, that was one of the things that got me to want to go, because these three ladies can wrestle. I mean, and they're stars. I mean, all three of them are. And Jordynne Grace is like a freak of nature. Yes. I mean, and she's got it. Now married to Jonathan Gresham, by the way, in case y'all didn't know that. But
the daughter of Precious Paul Ellering, the manager of the Road for years.
Yep. And Deonna and Rachel spent time in NXT. So, these three ladies, credit to all three of them, because I'm sure they were probably thinking, all right, what are we going to do now if Rachel has to miss the rest of the match?
I wouldn't be scared to start a wrestling company with any of those three ladies being the headline woman wrestler.
Better than what we see on my beloved AEW most weeks when the women wrestle.
Sadly, put the good ones out there, but that's for another day.
All right.
Oh, I don't want to get off on a rant there, but yeah, I agree.
It's time
for the main event.
From Charlotte, North Carolina, the 16-time World Heavyweight Champion, Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Woo! 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 That's what I said on Sunday morning before we headed out. I went, woo! 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 Woo!
All right, let's get out here. Ric Flair is on the Mount Rushmore. If he's not the very first name you put on the Mount Rushmore, Hulk Hogan, John Cena, those guys, they call him the wrestlers, the greatest wrestler to ever live, possibly. He was 73-year-old, Jeremy, but it was still a spectacle. But you said it best, and I will give your quote back to you. It went in a way that it can leave no doubt that Ric Flair should never do this again.
Yeah, we talked about it. I learned things after the fact that kind of changed my mind and how he did too. There's some things that went wrong. He
Now,
yeah,
they things went very wrong.
yeah.
From the entrance, it went wrong when the belt fell off of him. He's trying to hold the belt, everything. It did not go well.
And and so I noticed too, he was trying to adjust the belt, and when he turned around, it's like his balance got off. Just I may have been the only one that noticed that, but here's what he some of the things that we were all concerned about were actually part of the plan. So at one point in the match, now he did pass out twice.
I'm going to ask y'all the gift that went around. I think Andrade was seriously scared when Ric Flair said, "I passed."
He was. And this doesn't have anything to do with wrestling. And Andrade is his son-in-law. I really appreciated the fact that he was very attentive to his father-in-law.
He was.
It was like I'm going to look out for him. And look, I've got a whole new level of respect for Andrade. I wasn't really a fan. I'm a fan.
Nobody in that match, given the opportunity, ever upstaged Ric Flair.
Exactly.
That's credit to Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and his son-in-law.
So, look, if we went into it, and I heard this today, and Howie probably feels the same way. It's like Conrad said on his podcast with Rick. Actually, I listened to today or yesterday one, or it may have been with Jeff. Which, by the way, if you hadn't listened to my World podcast with Jeff Jarrett, listen to the one this week. It was fantastic. They went behind the scenes, but it's like Conrad said. Any wrestling fan who went into this thinking that they were going to see Ric Flair 1986 is an idiot.
Yes.
You're not going to see that. Did it not go as planned? Some of it, the belt, they got off cue because he passed out one time. My two favorite parts, and I'm going to let Howie do the rest of the talking. Two favorite parts. One, he's laying on the ring apron there, bleeding. And there's a guy up behind us, and I don't know if Howie heard him. And it's like, send somebody to check on Rick. He's laying over there. Hey, look, I thought he was real. I thought, well, the doctor's not coming over there. That was all part of the plan. For him to crawl back and tag back in and crawl, that was part of the plan. Second part, which was the best part to me, and they fought. He brought it up, and they said, "No, you're not doing that." And he called it. He faked a heart attack in front of the rail. And that, how Rick, oh God, and you could see the concern on people's faces by the rail. And Lethal backed off of him a little bit, and he thumbed him in the eye. I loved it. I thought it was great.
That moment saved Jay Lethal's character to the end of the when he come back there. Howie, give me your overall take on it, but also I want to hear your take on Jay Lethal.
All four people in that match, I don't want to say I didn't have respect for them, but all four of them got more respect from me after that match.
Yes.
Because of how they did it. And I think they did it the right way. Like Jeremy said, Flair's laying in the corner over there. I think at one time Jeremy said, "Is he dead?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "I'm not 100% sure about that." But I said, it was a good match. I wasn't expecting to see the 1986 Ric Flair. Yeah, it started off bad by the belt not being buckled up like it's supposed to, and it started to fall off when he walked to the ring. He didn't cry as much as I really thought he would. I thought it'd be like a 5-minute tear session with him. But the best thing about the match to me was the way Jeff Jarrett got the crowd involved in it after him being dead for a match and a half. and throwing beer in people's faces, getting in their face and cussing them, and doing old school heel stuff like
Yeah.
it should be done even today.
All right, I
I
gotta
got
stop.
I got chills on that, Howie. When you talking about it, I'm thinking back about that.
I have to ask you both right there, Howie. I'm going to hold your point because it's brilliant. What if Jeff Jarrett does end up in the creative of the WWE now that Vince McMahon's gone? I want both of y'all to comment on the end of that later. Go ahead, Howie.
But the way Andrade, I don't know if he could sit on the pay-per-view or not, but Andrade, in between moves, he'd go over and check on Flair, like Jeremy's talking about. Even Lethal every once in a while was checking on Flair in between moves just to make sure something wasn't wrong. Some of that stuff wasn't really planned that happened with the families there at ringside with Conrad and Megan and Morgan and all those with Karen and everything. And so, I love the match. Flair, I hope it was his last match, even though he got dehydrated and all that stuff.
It was good enough to be his last. It's not
Yes.
Flair 6, but it didn't stink either. And that's the reason I wanted to go out that way.
You're right. And I'm sitting here, I'm probably one of the hugest Michael Jordan fans there is. But if he went out there and played basketball right now at the age of 60, I wouldn't expect him to be the Michael Jordan of the 90s scoring 40-something points, but I expect him to put on a pretty good show.
Yep.
And that's what Ric Flair did. He put on a show. My only disappointment was I didn't hear enough woos from him.
I agree.
I can only remember him doing it twice, I think.
Yep. And I agree with that. And now we did get a little bit. Lethal came out and we in between matches and cut a promo, and he come out to Ric Flair's music. I thought it was great. But yeah, I'm with you. I wanted to see a little more of that. But Lethal, I love Lethal. I guess him and Mance Warner and look, you talking about Jeff Jarrett in creative. Heck, I want to see him in the ring as a heel. He looked like $1 million. He moves like $1 million.
That's the reason I look at Jeff Jarrett, 50 years old.
I'm like, I would hug that guy. If I met him right now, I would hug him. That was so good. I'm telling you, it brought back, that was legit heel stuff. He choked Conrad. he threw Tony Schiavone's papers up in the air. I mean, every bit of it. Then that crowd, they were on him. And Karen smacking her rear end at the crowd. It was great. And I mean, that was old school heel stuff. And it was great. It was just fantastic.
Does that make you appreciate the Jeff Jarrett of WWE and WCW more now that you see actually how good he was? Because I think one of the missing factors of WCW was the best champion down the stretch at WCW was either Booker T or Jeff Jarrett. Do you want a heel champion, or do you want a face champion? If you want a face champion, you hung it on Booker T. If you want a heel champion.
We lost him. Hey, but we'll carry on till he gets back on, man. But I loved it, Howie. I don't know if you felt the same way, but the entrance, his entrance, the music, they went with the red light versus the purple when Flair came out, and my opinion of Jeff Jarrett changed after I started listening to his podcast because he's a down to earth, personable guy, country. He's country, man. I like people from the country, but he everything they did, the vignettes to build the story, and they were all invested in it. And I love the fact that you could tell they really wanted this to be special for Ric Flair. Everybody involved, and I love that. That's why it was a good show.
Howie, how about you, man? You get the final word on it.
Yeah, I agree with everything Jeremy said. It brought me back to the WCW, NWA Saturday nights shows that came on at 6:05, where the studio shows, I guess what they called them. The only thing that was missing was Dusty Rhodes coming out there and cutting a promo.
That's right.
You know what? I wished Dustin would have been there. I really do.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give y'all an MVP that none of you've named. But on the pay-per-view, they was a clear MVP of the whole show. And you have not named him the whole night. I don't know his name. But whoever run the ring camera that framed The Undertaker, Bret Hart, into the shot with Ric Flair at the end of it is the MVP of the whole night. Because there you look, you've got the greatest wrestlers of our generation looking at Ric Flair. Did y'all see that? Any of that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where we sitting at is just to our left, and we saw where the interview was taking place. And I don't know if you saw it on pay-per-view or not, but we saw where Bret and Flair hugged, and then the Taker and Flair hugged, and then Mankind and Flair hugged.
Yeah.
It was a surreal moment. It's kind of like one of those things like, okay, we know that's going to be it.
Yeah. Yeah, but they framed it beautifully, Jeremy. Beautifully.
They did. Yeah, they did. And, Rick done a good job finishing up. I tell you what really got me is, you got Tony down there interviewing Rick by the ringside after that match. And then somebody paired it up with the first time that Tony interviewed Rick after Starrcade in the locker room after he defeated Harley Race for the World Heavyweight Championship. And they were somewhat in the same position. That's that nostalgia for me. So cool. So cool.
I'll be honest with you guys. I don't want to ever see it again.
No.
I don't want to see Ric Flair in the ring. God bless his heart. I don't know if he's got 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Now, I would pay for an event to see Ric Flair in a heartbeat. I think AEW, if they really want to do something special, put Flair with Andrade. Put them together.
Yep.
Put the world title on him. I think people would get behind that. I really do.
Have Flair as Andrade's mouthpiece going against MJF.
You're going to sell out 30,000 seats. So,
and the thing is too, and we know Rick wouldn't 86 Rick, and he struggled a little bit there, but that house is not full if his name's not on that marquee out front.
No, sir.
And
no,
so,
sir. And I heard rumors that a lot of those guys worked for next to, especially the Bunkhouse guys, just wanted to be in the match. Don't know what their payoff is, don't care. But when you start hearing about people like Bubba Ray Dudley, just wants to be in the match, wants to be in the second match, that means something.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Well, that's like what we've talked about on here. I told y'all it's going to be a full card of superstars because they just want to be on that card with Ric Flair saying this is the last match.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I've already said my opinion. I don't want to see it again with Flair. But rumors is you could see it again with some other superstars. Is there another guy you would like to see it with? And one in particular that's been bountied around is Mick Foley. Would you want to see a Mick Foley last match? Would you want to see? I don't think Bret Hart can physically wrestle. I know he signed another WWE. Is there anybody out there that you would pay drive from Sand Mountain, Alabama to see in Nashville, Jeremy?
Well, he was sitting ringside, man. I love the dead man. And again, he's not going to do it unless he could perform at a high level. I think he's made that clear. But such an iconic character. I would love to see. If Bret Hart could wrestle, I'd love to see that. I did get to see, him versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. What's that? 10 years ago, 8 years, whatever the case may be. He did okay for what he could do, and it was Vince. So I mean, heck, look, Vince didn't do Stone Cold any favors on that stunner this past WrestleMania, but one of those two guys right off the top of my head, man, I'd be in.
I think we might have seen Stone Cold have a similar moment. But I'll give Stone Cold credit. If Stone Cold wasn't Stone Cold and I just watched that match, I'd say, good match. It wasn't a wrestling match. It was a fight. And he worked with Kevin Owens, but it was a good fight, believable. Howie, I'm going to throw one at you. It's the only one I've been able to come up with. Howie, anybody that you would pay to see go one more time?
I think the only person I haven't really saw that I would like to see is The Rock. I know he's not old school or nothing like that, but some of these guys you just want to remember when they was in their prime and their heyday, but I would probably be willing to travel to see The Rock. I know he's not that old, and we may see that at WrestleMania next year between him and Roman. I don't know.
Or we may see our next president of the United States, one of the two.
Yeah, well, according to young Rock, he lost. So, but anyway, as far as the old school guys, I can't really think of any offhand right now that I'd want to see.
The guy I've thought about when this first came up is again still active in wrestling, but we can't see him here. He'll do a spot here and there. The only person I could come up with that I would put my ass in an arena to see him wrestle again, and he still does wrestle, but it's only in his indie promotion. I think you could do that very successfully with Booker T. He's still in great shape, still a main draw, and I still don't think the historical value of Booker T has been defined. 50 years from now, when we look back at Booker T, he may be the true. I know Ron Simmons had the world title. Ron Simmons did a lot. A lot of guys did. Bobo Bazero. Man, did Booker T really break the race barrier in the WWE and become a star? I mean, it would be that guy to me. Would be Booker T, and that I would go see. Guys.
We lose him again?
Lost him again.
Wow. That would be a good one. I've always been a Booker T fan. That's a good option for sure.
Right.
I was fortunate when he came back to WWE this last time I got to see him in the ring a couple of times, and that was fun. So still in good shape too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
As Randall said,
put a thing out on Twitter saying, I've got one more match in me. So who knows?
Who said that?
Stevie Ray.
Now I heard Booker T.
That's where I was going
the other day, and he seemed to think that his brother Stevie Ray would not be interested in something like that.
Give me a United Harlem Heat, and I would do it. I would go. That's where I was headed. Hey, listen, guys, we're running over. I know JJ got to jump, Howie got to jump, but I want to say this is most fun. Next week we're back with Howie, the tag teams of I believe Independence, right, in the U.S.
Sounds good.
We're doing U.S. Independence, correct?
I think we go there, and then after we get that list, we decide if we need to have one more worldwide Independence. So, and then we start putting together our final list, Jeremy Johnson.
Oh, God.
Let's just go ahead and call it the Worldwide Independent right now, because between you and Jeremy, y'all are going to have 10A, 10B, 10C, 9A.
Oh, now I promise I'm going to pare it down next time. I was just struggling.
The final list, though, we not to make an agreement, and we'll call it a night. Final list is 20 deep, not just 10.
Right.
We're going to use a pencil to make our list too, because the eraser may be used.
Yes. For the shooter, the Fife Red Devil, Jeremy Johnson. For Mr. Wonderful, the man of the hour, the tower of the power, Too Sweet, to be sour, Howie Cheney. I'm your host, Randy Schiavone, and we'll see you next week on It's Still Real to Me.